Shavua Tov, Boker Tov, unbelievable Tov, Zmanim Ma'od Tanachiyim. Reb Tzvi, Shavua Tov. Could you give us a latest? אתה נמצא בבית וגן, נכון?
כן.
כי הכותל...
אני שלחתי לך עכשיו סרטון.
ראיתי, התמונה של הכותל.
בשקט,
בלי מתפללים. אני חושב, ערב שבת גם כן היה, נכון? ערב שבת?
כן, גם כן. עצוב מאוד.
עצוב מאוד. We hear all sorts. Is it true? We heard a rumor that the Kiryah was hit on Erev Shabbos. Was that true?
I didn't hear that.
I didn't hear that. I've been looking and I have not seen it confirmed. So, Baruch Hashem.
No.
But I did hear that Machon Weizmann was actually hit. Machon Weizmann.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
they said on the news they said Rehovot, but I didn't hear.
No, I actually saw Machon Weizmann. Anyway, אני רוצה להתחיל את השיעור.
Maybe with some English, more English.
Okay, and my wife wants me to continue English, but it has to have Hebrew. I want to continue with Bamidbar, Chaf Gimel, Chaf Dalid, 23, 24, Bamidbar, Numbers. The pasuk, Hein Am Kalavi Yakum Uka'ari Yitnaseh. This pasuk at the Chidon Tanakh, our Prime Minister, Bibi Netanyahu, already mentioned at the Chidon Tanakh that this is a very important pasuk. And the day before, on Thursday, the day before the Mivtza of the Rising Lion, he put into Kotel a Petek, which everybody has seen, where he put in this pasuk. And the question is, what does a pasuk mean? What is a Lavi and what is an Ari? So the Malbim brings down, first of all, the Perush is Hein Am Kalavi, like a lioness, like a woman lion, they shall rise. And like a lion, leaps. Yitnaseh, leaps. So we're going to the Malbim brings Ken Yakum Milchemet Zayim Amamin. When we're talking about the 7 nations, Lahashmid Goyim, to destroy them, Lahachrisam. How would you distinguish between Lahashmid and Lahachris? To annihilate them, I suppose. To destroy them.
What's the second word?
Lahachris. Lahachrisam.
So like from Kores?
Yes. Anyway, I'm giving them an English translation. To destroy them and to annihilate them. Kores means permanently, like really to get rid of them.
L'chrisa means to cut away their shorish.
Okay, uproot them. Very good word.
Uproot them, right.
Okay, so, and the Malbim continues, Valhalavi, hi nekeva shel ha'ari, ve k'shiesh la gurim, when she has cubs, shehi bimheira lakum b'k'asa, to protect her cubs, she's going to arise and with anger to protect them. V'hari hu gibor hu yitnaseh lo yishbos. And the Ari, which is even stronger than the lioness, will rise v'lo yishbos. What's the lamer? Lo yanuach ad yochel teref yashmid zayin amamin. Will not stop until he destroys the 7 amamin. We don't have quite the 7 amamin, but we do have some real bad dudes. And Baruch Hashem, the Mivtza was unbelievable in the beginning, but there are consequences. The consequences are among them. Eti Cohen Angel, 74, from Ramat Gan. Yisrael Alini Vanbaran, 73, from Rishon LeZion. 30.
Aloni. I have Aloni.
Okay.
Yisrael Aloni.
35 missing from Bat Yam. Shnei Nashim and Yeled Echad Ben Shmono or Eser, it's right, Nirtzachu. 5 from the same family, and there are 200 wounded. And in Rehovot, Machon Weizmann, There are right now. There is a Rechovot. There is a Chilutz of Rav Kamot. There is a trying to rescue,
Search and rescue.
search and rescue. And Tel Aviv also there was a high rise. And Nebuch, we see that of course there are tremendous nisim involved because we're talking about hundreds of ballistic missiles and drones and all these the lethal drones. They're coming in masses. There were 5 different rounds that came in. Kama b'Shabbat, kama zakot b'Yerushalayim hayu. Hayu habe?
Yeah, it started Leil Shabbos. We sat down. We just got home from shul, and we sat down. We just had put the gefilte fish on the plate, and the sirens went off. So we all went downstairs. We have a miklat. We don't have mamadim in our building, so we all go down to the miklat in the basement. So then we came up, and then we were down again at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oy. Oy.
And then again, I think we were there again at 3:30.
Oy. You hardly slept.
3 o'clock. Yeah, hardly slept.
Did you go to shul?
No.
Yeah, just coming back now from shul.
No, I'm talking about in Shabbos morning.
Yeah. Shabbos. That's the thing. Shabbos. Everybody's out on the street. Kids are playing. You wouldn't know anything was going on. And then comes nighttime, and it's frightening.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
It's really
Okay.
yeah.
So anyway, Baruch Hashem, you were able to chap a minyan this morning. That in itself is tefillah b'tzibur. That's beautiful. You were able to do that.
Yeah, there was a minyan. And I'll tell you, Leil Shabbos, the part that was going around, because Friday was such an unbelievable, successful day for the Niftzayim. So they were saying that it says, Hashem Tzel Kenofecha Yechesoyu. And Friday was Yud Chet Sivan, which is the words Yechesoyu. Tzel Kenofecha Yechesoyu is Yud Chet Sivan.
Yechet Sivan. Wow, that's beautiful. They came up with. We did not hear that. So we of course we're going to start. Even we all have our Shapiro. I just got a call from Yerushalayim, which I declined. It was really my Shapiro who from the Kosel, and he's not a Kosel. He's a Koselnik, and what he does is he calls me and says he doesn't trust the news in Israel. He wants to know what I hear in the U.S. So the truth of the matter is, it turns out that they bumped off a bunch of Democratic in Minnesota, some Democratic Assembly people. Yes,
Here in Minnesota?
Yeah. So they're making a big deal about that. But anyway, what I wanted to say is we reached the point where we say Tehillim. I want to, before I even mention the Cholim, and this time, because of the Matzav, I'm not only doing the Perek, which we regularly have, I'm also doing an extra Perek, Kuf Mem Beis. We're in Yeshiva Far Rockaway, in the Nate's Minyan. They not only say Lamed and Kuf Chaf Aleph, they also say Kuf Mem Beis. So here it goes, Tehillim, which we should all have in mind, especially with the Matzav. Moshe Habusa. אנוכי תכנתי עמודי הסלע
אמרתי להוללים אל תהולו ולרשעים אל תרימו קרן אל תרימו למרום קרניכם תדברו בצוואר עתק כי לא ממוצא וממערב ולא ממדבר הרים כי אלוהים שופט זה ישפיל וזה ירים כי חוס ביד אדוני ויין חמר מלא מסך ויגר מזה אך שמראה ימצאו ישתו הארץ, ואני אגיד לעולם, הזמרה לאלוהי יעקב, בכל קרני רשעים אגדע, תרוממנה קרנות צדיק.
Now, Kuf Mem Beit.
פרק קמ"ב. משכיל לדוד בהיותו במערה תפילה, קולי אל אדוני אזעק. קולי אל אדוני אתחנן, אשפוך לפניו שיחי, צרתי לפניו אגיד, ויתעטף עלי רוחי, ואתה ידעת נתיבתי, באורח זו אהלך, טמן ופחני, הבט ימין וראה, ואין לי מכיר,
מכיר אבד מונוס ממני, אין דורש לנפשי,
זעקתי אליך,
It's very low. He's too fast. The volume is very low.
What? It's loud.
אמרתי אתה מחסי, חלקי בארץ החיים, אקשיבה אל רנתי, כי דלותי מאוד, הצילני מרודפי, כי אמיצו ממני, הוציאה ממסגר נפשי, להודות את שמך, ויחדירו צדיקים, כי תשמור עליי.
Okay. Okay, אנחנו הפסקנו קצת. We had a technical interruption, but we have to do, before we sing Achenu, we want to do the Yiddish. Lamnatzeach al tashches, this is Ayin Hey. Das is Atfila zum Hashem Yisborach, nicht zu Fardarbin. Fardarbin. What do you think is Fardarbin? Pei Alish Reish Dalid Alish Reish Beis Nun. Al Tashches. Nicht zu Fardarbin. Not to be corrupted. Fardarbin. Die Yidden. Zenig in Golis. Those are then Zenin. Those are being in Golis. Mizmor Osaf. Shir Osaf Zuk them Mizmor. And the beginning of Kuf Mem Beis in Yiddish. Kuf Mem Beis. Maskil David. Be Yosef Bim Ora, then is given in Heil. You remember what the Heil is? Bim Ora, in a cave. Hey Yud Lamed, Heil. Hat sich durch behalten, beshas is antläufen von Shol HaMelech, Tfila hat mispala gewen, die Tfila. Okay, aha, Chenu, Kol Beis Yisrael, aha, Chenu, Kol Beis Yisrael, Anasonim, Betzara, Batzara uvashivya, omdim ben bayam, uven bayabasha. Hamakom yirachem, yirachem aleihem v'yotzi hara, lerevacha mafeilel liora, umishibur megaula, hashta bagala uviz man karim nomar amen. And as I speak, I get flashes, and they said Nebuch od Petsuim. Anyway, we for our own cholim, we wish Aryeh Leib ben Chaytoba, Yoren Nisim ben Ofra, Michal ben Amisora, Pesach Yosef ben Hinda, Aaron Tzvi ben Nechaman, Binyamin ben Daniel, Margalis, Chaim Daniel ben Hodaya, Yisrael ben Esther, Ashira Ruth, Shira Rus, Bas Rivka, Pinchas Daniel ben Sarah, Yair ben Rachel Leah, Moshe ben Frida Leah, and for a Zivug, Shalom ben Bailey, Hudas Bas Chana Rachel, Yaakov ben Rus, Yisrael Nisim ben Rachel. Do you have anything that you'd like to say, any Yiddish for us or anything like that? I don't blame you. You've been busy with other things. dodging missiles.
Yeah. I actually didn't even do it on Friday, and I had to use a street freeze because I didn't even do it on Friday.
Oh, because you get penalized for not doing it 2 days in a row. You got streak freeze.
They don't take into consideration
A war.
Threw 100 ballistic missiles at us.
Yeah.
They don't.
Das ist nicht schön. Ihr sollt sagen zu dem, nicht zu stricken.
You know, when the as the car went off at 1 o'clock Leil Shabbos, so I was just waiting for my wife to finish getting ready to go downstairs. So I went into the kitchen and I looked out the window, and we can see the view from Ramot. It's from Nebi Samuel, and we could see the the anti-missiles being going one after the other, boom, 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 right into it. It looked like fireworks. It doesn't actually look like
right
like missiles. My brother-in-law, who has a wide view, told me that the whole sky was lit up with crisscross. It's unbelievable.
So
something did fall. Something fell in Harnof.
Harnof. I have a video. I have an actual video of the fall, and the problem is I won't mention my son.
Don't say whom.
I'm not going to mention my.
He's
I have,
there on the chat.
Okay. I have a son who had heard a psak from someone very respected in Yerushalayim, and he said, "You have no fears in Yerushalayim." And I told my son, "You got to listen to your father." And I say, if yours an azakah, you should really take it seriously. So I don't even know what he did on Shabbos, but I do know that I sent him the clip, and you could see in Harnof, you could see a street. Then all of a sudden you hear a big gigantic boom, and you see it come. You actually see it landing in the middle of the street, or actually hitting a car. And Nebuch, everybody has to be careful. As Bibi, we don't believe it. Bibi was interviewed. He could have been a mashgiach. Right before we broadcast, Bibi said, "V'nishmartem ma'od et nafshosechem." He said, you have an obligation to listen to the horaot, but he keeps quoting psukim. So I think, if you have a Rosh Memshalah who's quoting psukim, we're in good shape. So, but we have to say our tefillos. And today, of course, we'll continue our learning. Tzvi, to what extent are you going to continue with us? Are you going to stay with us? Are you going to go? We're not going to keep you.
I'm going to go back to sleep.
Okay, but listen. I want you, ihr soll gehen in dein Schlafen spazieren. You should definitely go for your walk in Gan Soccer in your sleep. So, so you have, איך אומרים? חלומות פז. חלומות וחיים טובים. חיים. Okay, akut tovach. And we should hear Shmuos Tovos and take care. Secure Yerushalayim. We're depending on being Shomer Yerushalayim. Good tovach. Okay. A good vach. That's it. Okay, so let's go into the Shir of Yehuda ibn Iter Mifez. It's today's yard site, which is Yutes Sivan, and he's Ben Reb Yaakov Nolad Befaz. That's in Morocco. Derech Agav, Ishti Vani Bitoch Geshem. It was pouring rain. We went to the Nate's Minyan, and we went to, again, what's it called then? Hachayim V'Shalom? Hachayim V'Shalom, which is a Moroccan Minyan. And let me tell you, we were rocking because we geduchened again, Shachris and Musaf. So it was really an amazing experience. And they have also a Moroccan Kiddush that I'm not going to go into. Okay. הוא נולד ב-1655, יהודה אבן איטר מפז, ונפטר ב-1733. ובעיר פז שמרוקו חיו מגדולי רבנים בתקופות שונות. רבי יצחק אלפסי הריף נקרא על שם העיר. It's interesting, the word Alfasi, the Rif, Rabbi Yitzchak Alfasi, who's a very famous Rishon. So his name is Alfasi, Where did he get the name Alfasi? Mifas, from Morocco. Alfasi. Gama Rambam b'darko mikardavo shacham ba. Rabbi Yaakov Beirav, Gdolei Tzfat, Hayam b'tziroto, Begil Yotchet Rabba Shmonesrei Rabba Shelfaz. Avos Mishpachat Ibn Iter Mimigorshei Castilia Hitparnesu b'besamim. They made their living by incense, by selling psamim, spices. Mikan Shmam, Itar. That's where the word Itar, it's interesting, the Orachayim is known as Ibn Itar, and it means someone who deals with spices. Itar ba'arvik bosem. Itar is in Arabic spices. Rabosa Rabbi Yehuda hayu Rab Vidal Hatzarfati Rab Menachem Siro Migdoli Ador Haba. Rab Chaim Bala Orachayim HaKadosh Nasa et Nechdat Rab Yehuda Shaita Mit'atefet Betalit Benichat Tefillin Bebeisa. Did you hear this? That the granddaughter of the Orachayim, Rab Or HaChaim married the granddaughter of Yehuda ibn Itar, and she actually wore a talis and put on tefillin.
Wow.
Rabbi Yehuda katav haskama nelhavet al sefer Chafetz Hashem asher ba'Or HaChaim, and Rabbi Yehuda actually wrote a haskama for the Or HaChaim. You could see, boy. Anyway, Bishnat 1698 tikain Rabbi Yehuda Lola hafriz benudunya habonos. Just like there are certain takonos about not to have too fancy weddings, spend all your fortune on marrying off a kid, you could go bankrupt, chas v'sholem. So they said they made takonos. So the Rabbi Yehuda made a takona that a dowry should not be exorbitant. But and this is what he wrote: "Bavonaseinu rabim rov anashim asher banos yildu lehem tzor matzor matzum v'da'aga al atid miyom leilotan ad giyah leforkon." When someone had a daughter, he was concerned from birth. How will he have the money for a dowry? The sibad hamin hagara asher nitpashit b'yamim ela vilti tzeit abanot midalte beit avihem achutza liot leish kim benedudya rabba. It prevented them from getting married. Lo tosefet ruba chafitzim bekesef v'zahav bedulach v'avav tovat. People are looking for jewelry, money, and ma'ot ba'ayin, substantial amounts of karkar or property, land. Ba'ofen sharov habali batim nisharim shlulim yotzim nikiyam mikasveim. People, as I said, become bankrupt. Lachein ra'inu ligzora kol hamishtachim me'al v'ala. Therefore, he, Rabbi Yehuda ibn Itar, decreed and made a gzera she'ein reshus hitbanot shum t'nai tosefet al nedunya b'shum ofen. People should not have exorbitant dowries. He actually made a takana. Rabbi Yehuda ben Itar v'chavrei beit eno b'fas of Rabbi Avraham ibn Danan v'Rab Yaakov Abitzur zekenim she'enam ovdim lefarnasam v'nechnesem v'shubadim yad hanoshim made a gzera p'turim l'shalem misei tzibur. He exempted people who are not working from paying the local tax. Bimei Rabbi Yehuda gavru hatzarot al Yehudim b'Morocco. In his days, there were all sorts of problems in Morocco. Rabbi Yehuda hushlach lekela. Yehuda was sent to jail. Kishalo haya bidei hakila l'shalim haschuim hadorish l'pinyono. And since the kehila, the community, they did not have the money to bail him out, redemption money. Gazar HaMoshel Malai Asmael Lizrokoto Leguvarayat. So not only was he in jail, he was sent to go to a lion's den.
Why?
Avol Nitzal B'derech Nes. He actually stayed in that lion's den, and he was saved. Achidah Katav. It's like Daniel. We know the three that went into the lion's den. Katav Olav V'Shem Agdolim. V'harav hayam ulumad benisim v'kama niflaot aznei tishmana she'irlo hein ba'odenu chai v'gam achrei ptirato litpalel kivro shamati b'pi rabbanan kadishi chachmei amariv ki haya ish elokim kadosh v'lo neheneh b'chvod haTorah v'lo kibel haspaka mikahal hushlach l'guv arayot v'nitzal achar shenishar sham yom v'layla. He was there day and night with the lions. V'ya kiddush Hashem gadol, and he was not harmed. And it was a great Kiddush Hashem. Hayu nishba'im b'shmo, v'nishba'al sheker yomut. V'od nifla'ot shemanu, v'gen hein ba'oden l'chai, v'af ki achrei moto, l'mishtatech matzvachon. B'shnat 1701 azvu rov yodim im Rabbi Yehuda et ha'ir v'avru l'machnam. Kavur 4 shanim chazru l'faz. Rabbi Yehuda na'ad ke'ish kadosh, עוד בימי חייו וגם המוזלמים נהוג להשתטח על קברו. היה פוסק גדול בדורו, וכל פסק הלכה היה עובר תחת ידו לחתימתו. במרתף ביתו נהג ללמוד תורה, ושם ערך את כל המשפטים שהובאו לפניו, ונתן את פסיקותיו. רבי יהודה חיבר הרבה פסורים שלא נתפסו. הוא היה מחבר את הספר מנחת יהודה. That's how he was known. דרשות על כל פרשה ופרשה. גם חיבר הלכות שחיטה בחרוזים, וגם ספר שיר מכתם, הלכות שחיטה. ורב שמואל סלנט כתב הסכמה על הספר. אז אני רציתי להזכיר, הוא הביא תשובה. תשובה מרבי יהודה אבן עטר. רוצים שנתמנה על בעניין שליח ציבור בנימין הכהן, שנתמנה לפני שנתיים ורוצים לפטרו. Someone was hired as a chazan, and they wanted to get rid of him, to fire him, after 2 years. כדי שלא יהיה לו חזקה ג' שנים. They wanted to fire him because if he were there 3 years, he would have tenure. So they wanted to fire him after 2 years. והתחייבו להחזיק אותו לתמיד. So the shaila was, did they have a right to do that? The tshuva, kol otam ma'arimim hakol v'rik hevel v'rik b'fiyim. Without gadol to. Ki lo chazal chezchas gimel shanim. You don't really, the whole thing was in error from the beginning. You don't need 3 years to have a chazaka. Elak she'hamachzik bo lit'on al gufa shel karka, lomar knuya hu biyadi, baram hocha ein binyamin bo lahachzik b'karka. We're not talking about karka here. We're talking about someone who has a job. Ve'ein to'en ela al minoi v'al shrora. We're talking about his appointment and being a shliach tzibur. V'kvar katav Rambam v'hilchos malachim perik aleph halacha zayin. Me'achar shemoshchi melech. Once you have for the king anointed harimavur leb'shatz mashicha zachal azar ledosam siyam lishono v'lo malchus v'vad el kol ashros kol amnoyim. He talks about a tenure, life tenure, hachanami. And this is what he posted, the posik of Yehuda ibn Itur Mifaz. Misha sheminu shatz kvar zacha gam lezaro achrov ad olam ledoros. And once he was appointed, not only he but his generations, his children, have a kedima. Kol ema sheyir mamam makom, as long as they properly fulfill their function, their duty. You have no right to fire them. Surely he has a right to stay in his job. Once you've been appointed, he achieved a high place and sanctified, and therefore you can't fire him. The truth of the matter is, I had a case like that when I was working for Justice Martin Rodell. I landed up writing a decision, Zimler versus Felber. I tried to post the entire decision on the chat, but it seems that you have to subscribe to see the entire case. But I'm going to put it anyway. If someone has an ability to get the entire decision and put it in the chat, Charlie Block, any of the lawyers listening to this shir, even Judge Shulman, Martin Shulman, or even Mickey Morgenstern, if you could take the decision Zimler versus Felber, which I'm going to put in the chat, and if you could get the iron text, you will see sources which were cited, including the Talmud Rishalmi, that talks about if you take something, a stone, in the Beis HaMikdash, and you try to move it to another place, you have to be careful because Ma'alim B'Kodesh Ve'ein Moridin Kodesh. You have to make sure whatever you do, and therefore you cannot fire. The case was talking about a rabbi and Rabbi Frankel, and I think it was a Casino Jewish Center, where they wanted to fire him, and the decision basically said based on New York law, but also based on on halacha, you should see the Makorot, and I invite you to read it. Anyway, I will post it in today's
You
chat.
didn't say what the decision said.
The decision said, I basically said that he should stay in his position, and that, but you have to read all the facts. You can't just say, oh, but the fact that they also, just like the Rabbi Yehuda Ibn Itter, once a person has a point in a position, he has a tenure. Today's also the Ortzad Shmuel ben Mordechai Ze'ev Humanar, נולד ב-1913 ונפטר ב-1977, נולד בירושלים, למד בישיבת עץ חיים, הוא מכונה חפץ חיים של ירושלים. למה? We're learning the Chafetz Chaim, we're learning Shmiras Halashon. He wrote a compendium, a kitzur of the halachos of Shmiras Halashon. So he was known as the Chafetz Chaim of Yerushalayim. Talmud, he was a Talmud of Isser Zalman Meltzer, ב-1940, בגיל 26, הוא כתב את הספר הראשון, עיקרי דינים, which are the synopsis of the Hilchos Lashon Hara. Tamsit, Sefer HaChofetz Chaim. Rabbi Cheskel Levenstein, my mashgiach from Panovich, כתב עליו, עובד השם באמס. הוא חיבר גם כן עבד המלך, נסיב מצוsecha, מבוא לתורה, נביאים כתובים, מצוות הביטחון, עול התמיד, מורה מקצוס, והנה נפל העוס, ותיר קדושה, ועני לדודי. These Lev Torah, the Eitz of Toshia. Today is also the Ortzad Shol ben Binyamin, Israelish, Yisraeli. Rabbi Shol Yisraeli, who's known in the yeshiva world. He was nolad ב-1909 ונפטר ב-1995, נולד בסלוצק, למד בסלוצק, אצל רב חסקל אברמסקי ואיסר זלמן מלצר. עבר למינסק ב-1934, עלה לארץ ישראל, למד בישיבת מרכז הרב, ב-1938 קיבל סמיכה ביעקב מיום שחל"פ, ואיסר זלמן מלצר נבחר כרב בכפר הרועה, ב-1940 הקים ישיבת כפר הרועה, ב-1965 היה דיין בבית דין רבני גדול בירושלים, ב-1982 היה ראש ישיבת מרכז הרב, הוא חיבר ארץ חמדה, משפטי שאול, שערי שאול, פרקי תורה מדינה. עד כאן היורצייטים של היום. אנחנו בי"ט סיוון ממשיכים, עכשיו עושים את הסיום של פרק א' בחתימת הספר, ותנא דבי אליהו זוטא בפרק כ"ד אמרו חכמינו זיכרונם לברכה של האסיד לאבו מאירים. Meira is my granddaughter. She should only be here to hear this. Me'irim lo kol ma'aseh b'fanav. When after 120 years in the pearly gates, as they say, they will play for you a video, display me'irim lecha, display everything that you have done in this world. They're playing for you everything. Kol ma'aseh diber b'olam hazeh. Everything that you said in this world. Lo nevad afilu diber echad shelo nechtav. There's not one word that is going to be missing, and the replay of everything that you've said. And Chagiga, Hey Amid Beis, that even a casual conversation, a minor one, will be replayed. And it's brought down in the Zohar. I will not read the Zohar itself, I'll read only the Tirgum. In other words, a person who says Lashon Hara, there are angels that are upstairs that are in charge of anything that anybody says, a negative tongue. O Dibur Metunaf, whether obscene language, Motzi Adam Bepiv, or Lashon Hara. Va'arkach Motzi Diburim Kadoshim, and these same angels, when you say Divrei Kodesh, Oy lahem ba'olam hazeh, v'oy lahem la'olam haba. A person who says Lashon Hara or obscene language jeopardizes the reward that he gets for any Torah that he learns. Mishum she'elo ruchas atmeos not los at the dibur atamei, because these negative spirits, I call them angels, but they're negative spirits, like Lilith. These negative spirits take whatever negative language, impure language that he has, Kishemotzi Adam Achakach Divar Kodesh, once you already have created the tumah, and then you talk something that's holy, elo ruchas hatmeres mekadmes v'not los oso adacha hatuma metamas oso hadibur hakodesh v'adam lo zochebo. They actually impurify, they defile the kodesh that you say. So whatever your kodesh is almost like deleted. It's eliminated. You have no schus as a result of your lashon hara. We see the damage that is caused by saying lashon hara. I know. It's down, but I have to turn the page. Okay, so I want to make sure that I didn't miss out on anything on this page. It says, "V'lo zochi barnash ad kan lashono b'zeh pirashli le'il beperek beis ma she'amru chachamenu zachrenu levracha al pasuk lo titamu b'hem and nesim bav." You should not defile yourself, and you will become defiled. Adam etame atzmoat, a person who impurifies himself, defiles himself by saying lashon hara or obscene language. He lands up causing damage, causing even that which he says pure becomes impurified. If a person learns Mishnah, Gemara, B'shas Din, they will show all the Gemara that he learned. How proud he will be of all of his accomplishments. But when every page is displayed, and then afterwards they show all his negative language, it nullifies all his kedusha. How great will be his grief. How carelessly he loses his Torah. How do can compare this? A person bought a beautiful shas which leather covering, and didn't take the effort of looking inside the shas. He figured he judged the book by its cover. And he paid good money for it. And someone who sold it goes on his way. When he took the shas to his house, he opened it up and he saw it was actually disgusting inside. Because of the fat and the oil that was all over the pages. There was not one mesechta that was good. How bitter he was, how he got suckered in by the seller. He praised it, but didn't take the effort of looking inside. So it is with us. Misha piv patuach tamid, person who's what's the word, blabbles, who just patter, just talks, chatter, babbles. It doesn't even take the effort of checking his speech. Even if he learned all the Mishnayos and all of Shas many times, he will not have even one Gemara that will defend him. As we mentioned before in the Zohar, they will all be defiled. It will be disgusting to look at it. A person, a chacham, should know in the future what are the consequences. A person who has chachma will acquire chachma. We mentioned before, a person, it's not only to have wisdom, but he should also have Yiras Hashem. A person has Yiras Hashem will watch his tongue. Because then he will maintain his Torah, and it will be, Hashem will cherish it. That does not have any tumah. And that person who watches his speech should make the effort to learn as much Torah as possible. And if he even wastes 1 hour, any 1 hour of Torah, it's terrible damage. You cannot compare a person who manufactures needles to one who cuts and polishes diamonds. In other words, learning Torah is a good zach. And we end this Chasimas, the Perek, or Aleph of the Chasima Sefer, and we wish everyone, we wish Klal Yisrael, we said Medinas Yisrael, we wish you safety. Everyone should have Mamish, Yeshuas, V'nechamos, Shalom, A Yisrael.